what was that feeling like when you got your first laugh on stage?
So keep in mind, the first laugh I got on stage was when I was 10 years old.
Really?
Yeah, like earlier I said, I did a school talent show, went up on stage, and I started doing these impressions. So as a 10-year-old, think of a 10-year-old
Yes.
doing impressions of Mickey Mouse, Ronald Reagan, Pee Wee Herman, who was in his prime at that
Yeah.
time. And so when I went up on stage to do this show, I didn't really understand what stand-up comedy was. I'm a 10-year-old kid, and I just did impressions. But the impressions were so close
Yeah.
that the people were like, oh, my God, this 10-year-old kid is nailing these impressions. So I'm up there doing, freaking Pee Wee Herman. I'm like, I'm like,
Right.
like a 10-year-old, right now that looked weird, but a 10-year-old doing that is like phenomenal. And then Ronald Reagan, well, Nancy, basically we have, so
Yeah.
a 10-year-old doing that was like, and then I did Bill Cosby. I won't do the impression now because, yeah. But at 10 years old, I was
Right.
killing. And so it was one of those things where like, all right.
And you hooked.
I remember my mom, my brother, and my sister-in-law being in the audience. It was only the three of them in the crowd. And then when I went out there and I did the impressions, and the crowd, they just applauded. And I didn't know what the reaction was supposed to be. I didn't know, are they supposed to laugh? I didn't know what to expect. So when I went out there and I did the characters and the voices, and they're just applauding and this and that. And then at the end, when I said, thank you, good night, and people started standing up and they're applauding, and I'm like, I didn't know that that's like that. I didn't realize at that moment that audience understood what they were watching. And I don't want to sound arrogant, but the crowd knew what I was doing before I knew what I was doing. And in hindsight, because I've been back to my elementary school, I've been back to that theater, I've been back to that room, and I realized, like, wow, that moment, like, who knew?
And you were hooked.
I was very much hooked. I was very hooked. I remember sitting at home with my friend watching Def Comedy Jam on Saturday nights. And we were just, because that was the only comedy, or that, or BET's Comic
Comic
View.
View.
BET's Comic View and Def Comedy Jam was what I would watch growing up. That's what I understood. That's what I gravitated towards. There was no shows to showcase or feature Latinos, Mexicans, people that like. This was the closest thing. This was the closest thing because it wasn't an evening at the Improv. It wasn't, any of these other shows that were out there. It was very, very much like close to me. It was very urban, very hood, very like, yeah, I get that.
Because that's my point. That's my next way, and we're gonna got a few more.
Shoot your shot on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. Prize Picks is now giving away $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dive, every board even more exciting. So don't miss a chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. March is officially here, which means the best time of year for all you basketball fans. The madness is upon us, and the league is in the final stretch before the playoffs. Find your community on Prize Picks with new social features. You can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us and tailor fade our picks just with one click. Get in on the action at Prize Picks. It's now available in all 50 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just download the Prize Pick app today. Use code Shannon to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Shannon to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
Who is your inspiration? Because I mean, are there like if you're black, you have Eddie Murphy, and you go back to Pryor, and you go back to some of these old guys, and you come forward. And the white guys, you come back with Jack Benny, and you come back with Carson, and you all those guys. So in the Hispanic community, who did Gabriel Iglesias?
You know what? During that time, you got to figure there wasn't really any form of real representation for Latinos. A lot of Latinos, from what I remember, were gravitated towards Martin Lawrence and Martin. We would watch Martin. Martin was like a staple.
Yeah,
Like, oh
yeah.
my God, this show's so good. And I love the fact that we're talking about this now because I just met Martin Lawrence a week ago.
Really?
I met Martin Lawrence a week ago, and I felt like, it's rare for me to meet someone and geek the out to the point where I'm like, oh shit. It felt weird for me to talk to him because I just wanted to tell him how impactful his show, his presence, what he did on Def Jam, what he did on his specials meant to me. Because it's like, like I remember watching his shows on the weekend, and it's just like back when I was a kid, and it was so huge. And so to meet him, I didn't want to be that's like, that overwhelming person that's like,
You did.
shit. But I did. I geeked out. I geeked out. Shannon, I geeked out hard. I geeked out hard with him. But yeah, like we didn't really have somebody that we could gravitate towards and be like, this is our person. This is who is, So for me, watching D.L. Hughley doing Comic View.
Yep.
Watching Martin Lawrence do Def Jam. And it was always one of those things where it's like, okay, there's Martin Lawrence doing Def Jam on the weekends, and there's D.L. Hughley doing Comic View during the week. And it was one of those things where it's like, which one are you? Are you Comic View? Are you Comic View or are you Def Jam? And you're like, And then I started doing stand-up. And then I got an opportunity to go do Comic View. And I'm like, holy shit. It was so huge. I remember I was at the Normandy Casino and here in LA. And the host that year, because they changed host. The host was Ronaldo Ray.
Ronaldo Ray, yeah.
Everybody, this is Ronaldo Ray. And I just remember, I'm like, I went out there on stage and I had I had a great, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but I had a great show. And I just remember like, wow, I'm on Comic View. And it was so awesome. I never enjoyed that $150 more. Because that's what they paid you.
That's right.
That's all they paid you back then. There was no residuals, no nothing. And I remember there was a whole argument back then, like, oh, they're not paying residuals, they're not paying SAG, they're not paying after. I'm like, we're doing a show in a casino. Be happy that you're on TV. That's another thing, Shannon, that I feel like a lot of times these comics would get in a place where they made it more about the money than the actual craft. They focus more on like, am I getting SAG? Am I getting after? Am I getting scale? Am I getting paid what I'm supposed to be getting paid?
Right.
They focus more on that more than, hey man, how many people are gonna see this clip? How many people are gonna see this show? How many people are gonna get what I'm doing right now? A lot of times the comics get wrapped up more in the money, and I feel like the best advice someone told me early on was, don't worry about the money. Work on your craft, the money will come. And I still feel like that still is the thing. If you're more focused on the money, then you don't really give a about what the thing that is you're doing.
Want to join Club Shay Shay? Become an official member by hitting that subscribe button, where you never know who's going to be joining us for drinks and conversation. Don't be late to the party because we like to do something before two something.